Okay, just give it a second. We're live right now, okay, but it's like a 10-second delay or something like that. So it takes a minute for it all to catch up and then for people to get their notification and get in here.
Yeah, I'll bring the video up and then.
Okay, just give
Is it in the community?
Yes. Let me click out of these, click out of that. Okay, we're starting to get some people in. News Now, Nebraska. Len Lee. Hey, Len Lee. But, we're seeing more and more of these. So, just to give you some background on what I know. Oh, CJ's in the back room. Let me let him in. That sounded wrong. CJ's in the back room. Let me let him in. Say something, CJ, so we can hear you and get the audio on you. Okay, something more than. All right, well, he'll catch up in a minute. So, about somewhere in late 2016, some insiders with the police unions started getting messages to me saying that the police union higher ups had enough. And this started when Sue up in Chicago got that City of Justice police officer on camera threatening her and falsely arresting her and plotting and doing all that stuff. And after that, the unions got together and said, enough. Here's what we're going to do with these auditor guys. We're going to arrest them for any petty crime we can, even if we got to fake it. We're going to cost them time in jail. We're going to cost them money. We're going to cost them, hopefully some convictions. But if there's no convictions, then, at least they're out money and time. Okay? They plotted and planned that, and it spread from union. It started in the north. You started seeing that kind of stuff happening in the north, and it worked its way south. And now you're seeing it everywhere, and that's what we're seeing here. It's just an attempt or an effort to shut us up. And the problem is most activists don't have the money to sue. When I first started doing this, I didn't have the connections or the funding to file lawsuits. I do now, but I didn't then. And so, they just go out and do what they do, knowing that there's not going to be any repercussions for them. And there's the issue. That's what you're seeing in Polk County. Look who they started with. They started with the two poorest of the bunch. And the only ones amongst that group that really have anything or have any kind of real funding is HBO Matt. But we do have a lawyer that's come on board to take care of it. And he'll get paid from the lawsuit because this arrest is that ignorant, that stupid, and that obvious, that it's going to be an easy payout. An easy payout. It won't be $3 billion like my Deer Park lawsuit's going to be, but it will be a substantial sum of money. But in the meantime, you got two people that are sitting in jail with a $105,000 bond, which is ridiculous. And they're going to sit there for 6 months or 8 months because we're not going to be able to raise enough money to bond them out. And the judge is not going to give them a substantial bond reduction to get it to the point where we can afford to get them out. And the reason that they do that is because they know you'll lose your home. There's CJ. You'll lose your home. You'll lose your car. You'll lose your kids. And that's what it's all about. But what they're failing to realize is, now that we have some attorneys on board, is they are creating damages, real world damages for these people to go and recover. So it's just, this is the corrupt police, the corrupt DAs, the corrupt judges working together when they should be opposites of each other. They should be standing against each other to create balance. And it's the epitome of what is wrong with not just policing in this country, but with the justice system itself. And they keep pushing, and when people start pushing back, 7 years ago, 2014, when I started doing this, every time a cop got killed, and we would lose probably, I think back then we were losing about 18 cops a year. It was all about the war on cops. We got to stop this war on cops. There was no war on cops. The war on cops narrative came from the police unions. It's a fundraising thing. And a lot of people didn't snap to that. But now they have finally pushed things to the point where people are fighting back. People are arming themselves and fighting back so that they're legitimately, we are on the cusp. I don't think we're there yet, but we are on the cusp of seeing an actual war against the police, or the police state, not so much the police, but the police state. And what does it come from? It comes from the police doing exactly what we're seeing there in Polk County. Falsely arresting people just to ruin their lives because they don't care for their political message. And they better stop, because they can't keep going down this road without there being repercussions. They want to keep pushing until there is some kind of civil unrest. And the government thinks at that point they can invoke martial law and then take all the stuff and then we'll be in control. Yeah, well, good luck with that. It didn't work so good in the Civil War. I don't think it's going to work so good this time either. So,
well, they're trying to do it in Canada right now.
I see it. It's crazy what they're doing up there in Canada. They're not trying. They've invoked their National Emergency Act, or whatever they call it, and they're fixing to come down hard on all that mess.
And I'll add to that. We've got an issue now where you're talking about how not even 7 years ago, you would look at 42, 45 total deaths of officers each year, and half of those, or less than half of those even, were felonious killings by people. It was just a handful. And now I don't condone the killing of anybody except in self-defense, but the problem that the police are suffering right now is a problem of their own making. When you've got guys like me who worked in federal law enforcement, but I worked with law enforcement at all levels as part of the Joint Terrorism Task Force. And I know we talked about that several years ago on one of your things. And when you take a guy like me who was very gung-ho, very pro-cop, wanted to be a cop. I mean, I did criminal justice when I was in high school. I took a criminal justice certificate program and was on the Explorers and all that kind of stuff. But when you're taking guys like me and turning them against you every day, you've got a problem. And every day they're turning more and more people. Every time they go in places like France, where they're gassing protesters because they're in a restaurant without a mask, or when they're up in Canada taking gas cans, when they're arresting barbershop owners here in Texas, you're creating day by day your own enemy, and it's only going to get worse. And instead of recognizing what the problem is, they try to create a separate problem, which you mentioned, which was fundraising. Oh, we just need more money. We need more cops. We need more resources. We need more ability to undermine those liberties. And it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, because then as they get more of that, they get less accountable, which creates more people going up against them, which causes them to want more money and more cops and more resources. And so that's the big problem right now, is that sort of circular logic that they have. They're not looking at what is the problem. And, their excuse of and even their supporters, the bootlickers, their supporters that say, oh, it's not their fault. The politicians passed the laws. Sorry, they make a decision. They make a conscious decision to go out there and arrest churchgoers because they're praying in a parking lot. They make a conscious decision to go and steal gas cans from truckers. They make a conscious decision to seize the assets of Gibson Go fundraisers. They make these conscious decisions every day. And then on the streets, when somebody's recording them and they don't like it, they make a conscious decision to force a crime that wasn't there until the cop got involved. And that's a big part of the problem too, is there are no crimes being committed But then the cop gets involved and suddenly there's a crime, because you can create interference and you can create resisting arrest, because, under Texas law, I believe it's unconstitutional, and I'll be glad to challenge that here in the next year. But under Texas law, you can't legally resist an unlawful arrest. Well, sorry, where in the Constitution does it say I have to surrender my right to bodily autonomy just because a police officer wants to falsely arrest me? Now, it's obviously, if you're going to resist an arrest, it better really be false, or you're going to have issues. But still, it doesn't matter, because the statute says it's not a defense.
Yeah, and I have preached about that for quite a while. My position is very simple. If you resist, you better be right. You better be
exactly
right. Yeah, there's a guy down in Corpus here just a couple years ago that shot it out with a raid team, a narcotics raid team, and he won in court because they didn't announce themselves. It's one of those no-knock warrants. They just kicked in the door in the middle of the night. Well, he didn't know what was going on. And it turned out they weren't even at the right house, So he shot up a few of the officers, didn't kill anybody, thank God. But
same scenario though. We got a black man up in Bell County that's been in jail for 7.5 years for doing the exact same thing. No knock warrant. They didn't announce themselves. He ended up shooting. Unfortunately, one died. Another was injured. But as soon as he realized they were cops, he got on the ground and dropped his gun.
And that's basically what this guy in Corpus did. As soon as he realized it was the police, he stopped firing and surrendered.
But is it really justice when you have two exact same scenarios with two different outcomes?
Well, we know what that outcome's about. This guy was not black, I can tell you. I forget. Right. I believe he was a light-skinned Hispanic, like Spanish. Not like Mexican where he's dark-skinned, but light-skinned like European Spanish.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So he almost looks white. But, the reality is there shouldn't be no-knock warrants except in the most extreme conditions. But we're getting off the topic here, and I got people here are like, hey.
Sorry.
But I was going to cover one more thing real quick, and then we'll get to these affidavits. People have asked me in recent years, why is the target on my back been so big? When I first started doing this, I used to have bootlickers and cops come on my channel and talk trash to me. And the first thing I would ask them was, did you even look at the video? Well, no, I didn't. I don't need to see, blah, blah. I said, okay, so you're making an uninformed decision and your commentary is uninformed. Go look at the video, come back, and I'll talk to you. And when they would go look at the video, they'd come back and they'd be like, oh my God, I had no idea, And there was the problem. There were so many people in law enforcement that were seeing my videos and bootlickers that were seeing my videos, and they were flipping sides. And that's just not going to fly with the unions. And so that's why I have still have to this day, such a large target on my back. They've managed to slow me down. They haven't shut me up, but they have slowed me down. But that's fixing to change. I'm going back full time late April. I expect to be back on the road, and I'm going to be a beast. But, all right, guys, here's what we're here for. For those of you that missed it, Polk County, Texas, that's Texas, is up around the city of Livingston, which is near Corrigan.
Yeah, about an hour north of Houston.
It's actually a little farther, a little more than that, but because
the way I drive, it's an hour north.
Well, okay. When I take the Mustang, it's 45 minutes, okay? But if I take my truck, it's an hour and a half. Anyway, we had some activists up there working the area, and the police didn't like it. And so they've put out warrants for these activists, and they've arrested two of them. Two of them that were local to the area have already been arrested. They have put a $105,000 bond on a housewife and a disabled father. Okay. They have warrants for, I think, 3 others. Am I right? 3 or 4?
2 others right now.
And in one
that
unknown.
I've seen.
And one unknown.
4 total.
Okay, but there's one unknown, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to be open and honest here, and I'm just going to come clean and tell you guys I am the unknown person. I'm it. So, Livingston PD, just send the warrant down to Galveston County and have them drop by. Just call me. I'll be at the end of the driveway waiting for the arrest. All right, but we're going to go over the affidavits.
You let me
here.
know, David. I'll have your bail ready for you.
No, I was the undisclosed person.
No, I'm much better looking.
Well,
And I heard the affidavit says it was a good looking guy. So.
Was he
Oh yeah, that definitely wasn't me then.
If he was 6'5" and pudgy of tattoos, then it was definitely me.
All right, so we're gonna go over the affidavits real quick, and I want you guys to see just how ridiculous this is. It is just absolutely unbelievable. So I'm gonna pull them up right here. Here we have affidavit number 1. And this is the state of Texas versus Ismael Rincon. And Ismael is, I've worked with him. He's out of Laredo, Texas. He's a very staunch Second Amendment supporter.
He's a good dude.
Generally very good at standing up for his rights. And I will tell you that they don't like him because right now he is suing and winning the city of Laredo and the U.S. Border Patrol. And that does not sit well. For those that don't know, the U.S. Border Patrol has a very powerful union. I have challenged them and lost. I can tell you, they planted stuff. I had Border Patrol agents plant stuff on me, made a complaint, and the complaint was not sustained, even with video. It's unbelievable. All right, so here we have Ismael's warrant, and they have charged him with engaging in organized criminal activity. And his bond is set at $100,000.
And if you want, I have that
offense report.
I have that law printed out.
Okay. Hey, okay, yeah. So have you got the share button? Let me stop sharing. You got the share button. Can you share that and read it to us?
No, it's paper, but I can read it.
Okay, just read it off to us.
Okay, do you want the whole? It's 11 pages. Do you want the short and curly?
Give me the short version.
Okay, short version. Primarily, what it breaks down to is for someone to be convicted of organized crime, one, it has to be multiple people engaged, which means 2 or more. It has to be involving a criminal organization or street gang, motorcycle club, some type of or organized group of criminals. And
other than police officers, you mean?
Oh yeah, they're exempt from it. Don't worry about it. And they have to conspire to commit means that a person agrees with one or more person that they are with one or more of them engaging in a conduct that would constitute an offense that a person or one or more of them performed an overt act in pursuance of an agreement. So that means they all have to agree on doing something that would be a crime. And that crime must be a felony. And believe it or not, there's actually a list of what these felonies must consist of. And I'll give you a simple list of them. It goes through engaging in organized crime. A person commits an offense if the intent to establish, maintain, or participate in a combination for the profits of the combination as a member of the criminal street gang. A person commits or conspires to commit one or more of the following: murder, capital murder, arson, aggravated robbery, burglary, theft, aggravated kidnapping, aggravated assault, aggravated sexual assault, and basically a bunch of crimes that have to do with either murdering people, beating people up, raping people, or doing very unspeakable things to children.
Okay, now, wait, stop right there.
Okay,
so you read that, you've read the indictment, you've seen the videos. Are any of the crimes that are listed in that statute, did you see any of those crimes committed?
No. And there's one I think they're trying to use because they don't understand the law. And that's
dude, it's a 4. DA. He's been practicing law forever.
I know.
He understands the law, but go ahead. What is
the
it?
The one I think they're trying to use is the unlawful manufacturing, transportation, repair, or sale of firearms or prohibited weapon. And the reason I'm saying that is because one of the persons who was involved in these legal protests had a legally purchased and legally obtained suppressor, which in
it's
Texas,
not a suppressor, it's a gas moderator.
Okay, it is a muffler for a firearm. And
that whole terminology, silencer, is an anti-gun trick.
Believe it or not, that short story, silencer and suppressor actually are both correct terms used for hundreds of years. for different models and different patent laws. So they're interchangeable. They were both technically correct, but that's when most people who don't know about firearms use.
Right, but they've since then, without getting into a big anti-gun debate, the anti-gunners have grabbed the whole silencer thing.
Yeah, they like that because that's what they use in movies.
Right. Now, so we need to call it something else.
Yeah, and just so people know, because I own multiple suppressors myself, and the only people that can just walk up and demand, hey, show me your suppressor, show me your Form 1, your Form 4, your tax stamp, all your information, is an ATF agent. No one else can just blanketly demand, show me your papers. Those are the only people that can do it.
But that's what triggered these cops when they asked, was it, I think it was HBO Matt that had it, or was it?
Yep.
Okay, yeah. They asked him for it, and he declined to provide it, and quoted them the law that he doesn't have to provide it. And for those that don't know, HBO Matt, that dude is anal retentive when it comes to obeying the law. Okay, that dude doesn't spit on a sidewalk. So if he's got something that requires a tax stamp or whatever, you can believe he's got that tax stamp.
Oh yeah.
Well, and let me also
folders I carry around and stuff.
Let me also say this, that even though Jim is absolutely correct on the law about if you do have a tax stamp, he's absolutely correct that the law states that if an ATF agent comes up to you and demands your paperwork, that the law says you're supposed to provide it. What I will say is the Constitution says you don't, unless you are suspected of not having a tax stamp. The ATF suspects that you're carrying illegally, and they have to have that suspicion. They cannot demand, even though the law says they can. It doesn't matter what the law says. The law is unconstitutional and needs to be challenged. Which is another thing I'll definitely be crafting my career towards. But I just want to make clear, Jim's right. That's what the law says. The law says only the ATF can demand to see your papers on an NFA item. But I'm telling you that the Constitution says you don't.
And there's a very valid argument to that, because what is the NFA? The NFA is nothing more than a registry of all the firearms, devices, and everything. All ATF agents have access to that registry, where they simply say, hey, here's this person. And, let's say they lawfully detain you because you have it. They say, and they ask, hey, what's your name? Not give me your ID, just what's your name? And they check it and they say, hey, well, we have a tax stamp that shows up and this guy's name is on the tax stamp for this. So we know he has suppressors. He has a suppressor now. So they can, with their own due diligence, find out whether or not I legally have a suppressor without having to demand papers. So there's definitely an argument around that.
Aren't the suppressors have to have serial numbers on them, correct?
Yes.
So they can check the serial number to see if it's A, registered, and B, stolen. And no.
Well, that's also if they were to stop me and take possession of my item without me consenting to it.
Oh, okay. All right. So
I won't let them grab my gun. If they can't see it without touching it and without me manipulating it, they ain't gonna see it.
Well, I haven't had officers grab my gun very often, but occasionally they do kind of feel of it. But that's another story. Anyway,
like just feeling your gun up.
Yeah, I think they're trying to touch your gun for other reasons.
Anyways, back
anyway,
to the
for those of you that don't know, just real quick, CJ, tell people what you've been doing for the last 2 years.
2.5 years. Yeah, I'm in law school. This is my last semester of my 3 years of law school. That's why I haven't been around much. I've been dutifully trying to get this law degree so that I can come out and be an activist attorney and help people whose rights have been violated. I have the fortune of having had a 21-year career in the military, and therefore my education's paid for. So I'm not getting out of law school unlike my classmates with 6 figures in debt. So I can afford to take cases at a greatly reduced rate. I hope to eventually be able to set up a nonprofit to where I can take cases for free. But obviously there are filing fees and other type things. So I'm not gonna be able to do it absolutely free because I'm not a rich man. I'm a retired Army soldier. But that's what I've been doing the last 2.5 years is I felt like as an activist on the street, I had pretty much met my goals and I saw a need somewhere else. And that need is an attorney. It is way too hard to find an attorney to handle minor issues, like rights violations. I have no problem with suing a government agent because they stopped somebody for filming and held them for an hour, or wouldn't let them go despite them articulating that there's no crime. Suspicion is not a crime. So I have no problem doing that. I mean, I will file the most minor lawsuits for any violation of law by government. That's what I'm crafting my legal career towards. So I've been taking a lot of appellate classes. I've been taking a lot of classes on prosecution because I want to be able to get into the mind of a prosecutor as a defense attorney. And of course, taking a lot of trial advocacy and criminal and constitutional law classes. So that's what I'm doing here.
And you're going to be licensed. You're not going to get licensed in California, right? Because we know California lawyers are corrupt and worthless. I've never found a lawyer in California that was worth my time of day. Hey, but I'll be happy to be your first customer with a $3 billion lawsuit.
Oh, heck yeah, man.
We'll talk about that off camera. Okay, so that's what CJ's been doing, guys. So he's got a little more knowledge about things than the average layman and stuff. All right, so let's go back.
4 months left.
Okay. That should be just about right. Let's go back to the documents here. All right, so that was Ismail. And then here is the description of what happens. Affiant would show Officer Simmons was able to obtain a license plate of the vehicle bearing Texas, whatever. Affiant would show the vehicle registration was out of Laredo, Texas. Oh, my God. He drove all the way from Laredo to walk on the street and take pictures of the police. Is that a crime? I don't think so. But
in that county, it is. I
went to Laredo to take pictures of the police from Galveston. I guess if that was a crime, they would have arrested me, but okay. Affiant would show this raised more suspicion for the safety of Officers Simmons and Reyes due to their suspicious actions in stalking. Oh, my God. I'm sorry. I hadn't read this till just now. Stalking in Texas requires quite a bit.
I have that law, too.
Okay, let's read that because I am in, I don't want to give too much detail, but I am actually in the midst of charging some people with stalking in Texas through Galveston County and Harris County and two parishes in Louisiana. So I have some knowledge of this particular law, but I'm going to let you read it just so people will know how ridiculous this is.
It's actually a really short law, so it makes it easy. A person commits offense on one or on more than one occasion if pursuant to scheme or course of conduct directs the specific person knowingly engaged in the conduct that stalks or knows reasonably believe the victim in view and threatens to cause fear would cause a reasonable person to fear. Threats that can explicitly say you are going to kill a victim or implied veiled threats hurting the family pet. Threatens to have aimed at a specific person that cannot be generated through standard threats that may be conveyed by a stalker by someone acting on behalf of the stalker, and that includes anyone in their family, girlfriend, or directly related to them. So to shorten that down, you have to do it on more than one occasion. You can't just do it once. So you have to do it multiple times, and you have to make direct or indirect or veiled threats of physical violence towards that person or someone directly related to that person or in their family unit.
Correct. And by the way, I'm going to postulate that filming the police, even if you follow them from place to place to film them, since that is a constitutionally protected activity, would not fall under stalking statutes in Texas. You know, maybe in Ohio, but not in Texas.
No, they're not an individual. They're a servant of their government employee.
Exactly. And I just found out today, do you know that they still let people live in Ohio? I couldn't believe it.
I got some friends from Ohio. It's the country's not that bad. It's the cities are a little.
Yeah. All right.
Hey man, Trapped is from Ohio, so that's one of my favorite bands. So I can't say bad things about Ohio.
Okay. Contact Jason's police department. Okay. Affiant would show Officer Simmons made contact with the vehicle and the occupants after they pulled into the bank parking lot adjacent to the police department. Affiant would show the driver of the vehicle pretended that he did not speak or understand the English language. Is that a crime, CJ? Is it a crime not to speak English?
It is not.
It probably should be.
It should be. Yeah.
But it's not a crime to the best of my knowledge. English
language. And you know what? He never lied. He never lied to the cops either. He never said no hablo español or no hablo inglés. He never said anything like that. He said yo no entiendo, or I mean, the guy was just, ¿qué quieres? What do you want?
Sorry. If I would show the front seat passenger was video recording. Was his cell phone black? Oh my God! Did he have a black cell phone? You know those are dangerous.
It was the assault phone model. Remember the 30-round clip.
I'm just.
He probably had a high capacity SD card.
And then here we go down. It's the same stuff. This is Matthew Rankin.
You know, if you go back to the affidavit, it actually gets further because it goes to the point where it explains how the officers were in fear for their lives. But if you watch the video, they're standing around, arm on the vehicle, looking away, no guns drawn. So obviously it was all speculatory. But
not only that, but he actually said, I don't care if he's got a gun. I want to know why he's filming me.
Yep.
I believe.
Yeah. So there goes there. We were afraid.
He might have a gun. Well, I don't care if he has a gun.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is, because this is going to be long and drawn out, and I just got a notice from the thing saying I've only got 10 more minutes because I'm not updated on their pro model or whatever. Anyway, what I'm going to do is you guys went over this at length, in depth, and what I'm going to do is post a link in the description to this video for everybody to go and get all this in depth. All right. But what I'm going to say is tomorrow I'm going to put up a video with contact information for the Texas Attorney General. And I'm also going to put in that description of that video ways for you to donate to help these people out. They've got lawyers for some of them, but not the two that are sitting in jail. We need to get those people out.
And they need to challenge the bail amount. There's absolutely no reason that the bail amount is set at $105,000, even if there's a likelihood of a conspiracy. The conspiracy is not a violent crime. You can be charged with conspiracy if you call up Jim and go, hey, Jim, you got a truck? Yeah, I got a truck. Hey, I got all this trash I need to go and dump in the lake. And you guys conspire to go and dump a bunch of trash in the lake. Okay, it's not a violent crime. It's a conspiracy because it's a crime and two or more people, were in combination. So the attorneys, if they have attorneys, I hope they have attorneys, really need to be filing some violations of Texas law. In our video that we did yesterday, Jim and I pulled up the actual Texas law about bail and bonds and how that's supposed to work. You know, when you've got a guy that's accused of shooting 3 people that gets out on $32,000 bond, and these guys for doing nothing more than if they had done this, I mean, according to the accusations, did nothing more than make a 911 call. Because if you read those affidavits, it doesn't say, like under the law where it says either causes or either calls, makes a false report or causes to be made a false report. It doesn't say they caused to be made a false report, even though that's they kind of contradict themselves in the affidavit. It's actually one of the most terrible affidavits I've read. But they're actually saying they made the phone call. They're trying, but yet it's the neighbors that made the phone call. I mean, the affidavit means nothing. And there are several things right now. They can challenge the validity of the warrant. They can do a motion to quash the warrant because it was based on an affidavit that provided no probable cause as required under Texas law. They can also do a motion to quash the arrest warrant because it's based on a faulty affidavit that's based on a faulty complaint. So this whole thing is just going to fall. I've called the prosecutor's office and tried to get him to talk to me. Obviously, they're not going to talk to me about the case, but I made very clear on his voicemail that you can be subject to malicious prosecution because if you just read, all he's got to do is read the affidavit. If you read the affidavit, there is no crime. Even if you say that the crime, well, no, the crime, CJ, was that he was waving around his gun. Well, then if that's the case, then the call was not false. There was no false call. So either there was a false call or he was walking around with a gun. You can't have both.
And if he was walking around with a gun, why wasn't he charged with it?
Exactly. So,
Yeah,
I mean, that's what I'm saying.
That's actually a crime in Texas.
Yeah, you can get brandishing a firearm or displaying a firearm with the intent to cause alarm.
Yep, disorderly conduct. All right, so what I'm going to do is we're going to get the contact information for the Attorney General, and I'll link in this description of this video, I will link to their videos where they in depth go into the affidavits and whatnot. But we got to get some help for these people. This is this is worse than Almost Park. This is worse than Almost Park. I am just like disbelieving this stuff. So that's what we're going to do, and we'll get on that here pretty quick. You got anything else you want to say real quick?
Quote. Yeah, just with a funny quote. So a friend of mine told me he was at the Capitol and he was talking to a legislator. I won't say which one. A friend of mine, though. And he's like, I haven't heard from CJ. Where's he been? And he goes, oh, he's been in law school. And he goes, oh, crap. These people think he was a problem before. Wait till he gets out of law school. Yep. He is so right. 100%. I'm going to, I'm not going to do anything to get myself kicked off the bar, but I guarantee you I'll probably be challenging the bar a couple times.
Jim?
If you like anything law related for videos, check out CJ Grisham's channel. If you like anything firearms related, check out Not So Slim Jim. I got to put a plug in. I'm not as big as you, David. I got to grow my channel. I got to pour some water on it, some sunlight.
Well, there'll be links to your channel in the description.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Y'all stay on for just a minute. I'm going to have James over here go ahead and kill the live stream. Thanks, guys, for tuning in, and watch for that video tomorrow, and we'll put some heat on these people, which is what they hate the most. What they hate the most is exposure. So thanks for watching, and look for the links. I'll get them in here pretty quick.